All right, so good afternoon, folks, and welcome back. Welcome back to Below the Belt, our podcast. We did warn you folks that we're gonna get our podcast back up and running, and I'm so happy to be on with you folks this afternoon for a couple of minutes. So happy making sure that we get the comments coming in. Those persons who are joining us, great to have all of you back. We did say we're gonna switch the format up. I don't even want to wear a jacket, but I'm just in from a meeting and did promise you guys to be on, and we switching it up very informally. But good to have so many of you back on the live with us. Even though I'm not seeing the comments, and I'm not sure why I can't see the comments, but I can see that you guys are on with us. Yes, I can see the comments now rolling in. I see Clear Alexis Charmley, Richmond on with us. Guys, good to have you back, and we're going to do a very informal program. I don't even want to be in suit or tie or anything like that. But it's going to be an informal program. Just a couple of the things that we're following. Good to have all of you folks on with us, Claudine and Rishi and all the other folks who are joining us. And so we're going to be on in the afternoons at various points. I won't give you a particular time because, this is campaign season, and sometimes I'm drawn into meetings, and I'm just out of a meeting, feeling so energetic, feeling so buoyant about the future. And so we are going to have a regular program time at 8, and then we're going to be back with you guys a little later on in the evenings as well, to talk with you folks, and perhaps have a guest or two, very informally. Very informally. Good to have Mark on with us, and Michelle and Sandrine, and the other guys who are joining us, Mark Bradford and Olney, and I see Ashley is on too, and there are the other folks who are going to be joining us. But this afternoon, I want to circle back to some of what is happening at GCOM, because I don't want you guys to lose focus of that at all. I want you guys to lose focus on what's happening at GCOM. So, moving forward, folks, as we get more into this campaign season, we're going to be on at 8 in the morning. Then we're going to do this podcast in the afternoon. I had planned to be on between 1 and 3. I was aiming for 2 o'clock, but I had a meeting that went longer than I had envisaged. And then we're going to be back with our program at 8 in the evenings, and then we're going to do a late night podcast somewhere maybe around 10:15. That's what I can tell you, 10:15. I can tell you we're going to be on at that time. But the afternoons, during the day, it's so fluid that we can't be definitive, and I apologize that we can't be more definitive exactly when we're going to be on in the afternoons. But I'm so looking forward to restarting the podcast and to be here with you folks and letting you guys know anything that we've run into during the course of the day, in between the morning show and the evening show. Just a little update perhaps. And I find what is happening at GCOM warranting that little update for you folks. So while you're on, I see the emojis rolling in. I see we got Lyndon Gill here, and Terrence and Cheryl and Jennifer and Yuli and all the other folks. While we're on, let me tell you a little bit of what's happening at GCOM. Now, this morning when we came off the morning show, I learned that there was an update coming out of GCOM, and GCOM commissioner in particular says Gunraj. Now, this is very startling, because after the last red flag at GCOM, we did ask the question, are there additional changes that are coming? Are there additional changes that are coming at GCOM that we don't know yet? And I didn't think there were any. And today we learned that the prisoners aren't going to be allowed to vote. Kevin and Joe and the others. Is it perhaps that this government, they're looking at the prisoners' demographic, and somebody has just decided, oh, we're sorry, I know you have a constitutional right to vote, but we're not going to allow you to vote. Is it that what's happening? Is it that is what is happening people are deciding we are not going to allow the prisoners to vote. Why is that? Sandra, have you been following that? Sandra Weeks, right? Rosalind Clark, have you been following that? I think we put out a story in credible sources as well. Right? Janelle Simon, have you guys been following that? So we're going to be on here about a half hour or so, just as an update. We know we got some political junkies with us. And just to tide you guys over between the morning show and the evening show, we know you all like to know what's happening. But that very, very important update we're learning about that says that the soldiers are not going to be allowed to vote, the prisoners. Maybe that's a bit of foreshadowing. Maybe that's a bit of foreshadowing right there that the soldiers, but nothing official there. But that's what I want to talk to you about. And I'm going to walk you guys back some of the other things that have happened that have brought me to ask the question whether something untoward. You all heard that? Whether something untoward is happening. Something untoward is happening at GCOM. Have you guys been following? Right? No, is it me or did I hear critics calling the ministers by some expletives? Did I hear that? Did I hear that? I see a comment on Facebook says we now meet where we going. Critics calling a minister a a-hole. A a-hole. We meet where we're going. Is that so? But the frontal question I want to ask is if you guys are following that. Now, again, we learned this morning, right? Despite it is a constitutional right to vote, that the prisoners will be excluded from voting in 2025. Despite having a constitutional right to vote. Did I hear that? That our prisoners will not be allowed to vote. And why is that? Because as we learned from GCOM Commissioner says Garage, they are not, GCOM that is, doesn't have the system in place. Folks, we cannot take these issues lightly. GCOM does not have the system in place for the prisoners to vote. Now the question must be asked, what has GCOM been doing for the last 5 years? What has GCOM been doing for the last 5 years? Again, Lyndon and Margaret, we have had a plethora. We have had a plethora of recommendations coming out out of those electoral missions, observer missions, stakeholders, and I'm certain you all could rattle them off by now. You could talk about the EU's recommendations. This is the European Union. The Canadians were here. They had observer missions. You had the Carter Center, and they had an observer mission. You also had the Americans outside the Carter Center doing some work, the Commonwealth, and there was a plethora. The CARICOM had some recommendations for electoral reform, including several areas of revamping at GCOM. Are we going to accept that GCOM? Are we going to accept GCOM had 5 years? The chairman of GCOM gets big pay, big pay, and GCOM could be telling us now that they don't have the systems. Let me back myself up. GCOM don't have the system in place. GCOM don't have the system in place to facilitate our prisoners who have a constitutional right. Don't let's label them as prisoners. Okay, let's say these were folks in Region 1. Let's put them as a region. You have a constitutional right. GCOM said, we ain't got plane and we ain't got boat. Read the comments. We ain't got plane and we ain't got boat. So y'all can't vote. But I have a constitutional right. As long as you start denying people with a constitutional right, the right to vote, we're playing with trouble. We're playing with serious trouble. So that is the latest red flags. That is the latest red flag. That the prisoners would not be allowed to vote. And listen, GCOM chairman didn't tell us this on this morning's program. I did tell you that GCOM has been captured. Remember a recent international report said that the public sector, infrastructure captured by the elites. Well, GCOM has been captured. Add GCOM to that list as well. GCOM telling us they don't have the systems in place. Folks, Anne, Valerie, Linden, Orwin, Bernadette, and the curriculum that's in the house. When you tell Irfan, when Irfan to call Claudette, and should hang up and should call Vishnu, and then Vishnu to hang up and call somebody, he call Anil or somebody, he called somebody, and then call back Claudette, and Claudette call back Ashni, and call back Irfan, and the whole rigmarole story. And they said, yes, all systems go. Is this what it looked like? That GCOM is ready. Is this readiness when GCOM says the system isn't in place for our prisoners who we're not trying to give them a right to vote. They already have a right existing in law. They already have a right existing in law. And then we're telling them no. Or you can't vote. Where are we going? Where are we going with this? And folks, I did say Julian and Godfrey and all the others joining us, if it was just one issue of them declaring that they were ready for elections, and then you got to come now and do something contrary, it is not. So for instance, a couple days ago, we learned that GCOM had altered the nomination form. And not only had they altered the nomination form, GCOM had already sent out the old form, and parties, political parties, had already begun signing up on those old forms, getting the requisite signatures on those old forms. And then out of the blues, Diane McFarlane, Diane says big red flag. Out of the blues. Out of the blues. GCOM say, hold on. We're going to switch it up. Hold on. And switch it up they did. So the effect of that meant that parties, Gladstone Matthews, Sion and Standing Tall, parties who had already committed to following up the old forms had to go back from the start. Had to start over. I have the sneaky suspicion, I have the sneaky feeling that the PPP had the right form from the start. And they knew they were going to change it mid-course. So they didn't have to go back and do the hard work. Yes, I'm accusing them. But other parties had to go back from the start line. And that's wrong. You hear me? That's corruption. Absolutely wrong. It's a wrong thing. No, because you have to have a certain kind of infrastructure to run a national campaign in this country. You have to have the people to run a national campaign in this country. Obviously, the smaller parties will be disenfranchised. So we're disenfranchising the prisoners. And now we're disenfranchising the small parties and their supporters. And we will be able to say, with all of that, you had free and fair elections? And elections free from fear? GECOM said, Mark said go, we're ready. September 1, Mr. President, but we're ready. And what is more upsetting? What is more upsetting to your spirit? What is more upsetting? GECOM telling us, hear this, GECOM telling us, right? They're coming a little closer. GECOM telling us, hear this, they knew of the shortcoming that this change in the nomination form is aiming to remedy. They knew of this shortcoming more than 2 years ago. As a matter of fact, they said it's because of complaints during the last local government election, 2023, they needed to make this change. 2023 is a long time ago. Why only now? Why only now? These changes are being made. Why only now? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Why only now these changes? So you have that on top of the fact, remember I told you with all of those stakeholders that we got international, the observer missions, they made several recommendations too to the Ghana Elections Commission. And to date, we have not seen one of those recommendations implemented at the level of GECOM. We have not seen one of those recommendations implemented. Not one. So GECOM came out today and they said, prisoners can vote. You got a right. Nobody's asking for a right for the prisoners to vote. They already have a right established in law, a constitutional right, which means it's a very, very important right. It's a strong right. When you have a right that is enshrined in the Constitution, you know where we're there. You know where we are. When you got a right enshrined in the Constitution, you know where we're there. So, prisoners can't vote. They can be disenfranchised. You change up the nomination forms. Parties now got to go back from the scratch, except the PVP, because they don't have the form from the inception. The PVP had the correct form from the inception. They already knew what was coming down the tube, what was coming down the line. So they were signing up the new form from the inception. Parties now got to go back. You know, if you had 10, 15, 20 reps, you had to put on the ground, let's say in Region 1, 15, 25, 30 reps. Fly out people to those locations to get the job done. You come back now to the city, everything nice and good. You got to find all the money back again to get those people in those areas again to get that work done. And you tell me, that's fair? That's fair? And even though this other thing that they changed recently as well, brothers and sisters, even though this one might look like a benefit, it may look like a benefit, take care. So, you don't know, they've opened up the registration process. And this is important. If you don't have an ID, as yet, you can go register. That a ID, girl. That Fresco, Kashmir, Terence, Dion, Sharon. You got your ID? Granite. Your ID, you can go and register. Right? You can go and register. Please and thank you. As is your right. So we have heard now, within the last 48, 72 hours, GCOM said they have extended that registration period, not by days, but by hours. So if it used to close off at 6 in the evening, I think they're now going to a different time. Right? They are now going to a different time. And I'm trying to find it because I want valid and credible information for you guys. So, let me make sure I have it here. Right? They are now, number one, you have the claims and objection period in a shorter time frame. Claims and objection in a shorter time frame. Good? But again, right, the registration office hours have been increased. Take note of that. The registration office hours have now been increased. Folks, ensure that you get registered. Now, that might seem a good. Again, might seem a good. It might seem as a good. But if they knew they could have gotten this election done in a specified time, always well and good, why you need to increase the registration hours? And GCOM itself have said, thank you, Rena. Rena said it's from 8 to 8. It is from 8 to 8. Thank you guys. I was looking for it here. From 8 to 8. Now the point is, Rena, if you knew that you were expecting a surge, according to GCOM said they expect a surge. Why not increase the hours from the get-go? Why publish the old hours only to have to come back later on, suddenly realizing you'll get a surge, and then you go back there to this new time frame? You expecting a surge, and yet you only got 3 days dedicated to claims and objections, but you're expecting this surge. Folks, these are only some of the issues that we're pointing to. So we woke up one day, a couple of days ago, nomination form, scrap the old form. Start back. Go back and get your signatures. Go back and get your signatures. Claims and objection, add some more time there. Surge coming. Lessen the days. It used to be 6 days. Rena Hosang. It used to be 6 days. They bring it down to 3. And then they say, take a couple more hours. It's not enough hours to make up for the loss of the 3 days that they're expecting the surge, but take a couple more hours. Loretta Payne, you're right to shake your head. Loretta, you are right to shake your head, because I am shaking my head as well. Folks, brothers and sisters, this is madness. This is madness. Right? This is madness. But you and I, we can't slack up now. We can't slack up now. Like I said to you good folks, I came out of a meeting to come and do the podcast. I was hoping to be here since 2 o'clock. But I had a meeting that's run long. And I feel so energized by the outcome of that meeting. I feel so optimistic for the prospects of the APNU coalition and where we're going. Folks, y'all stay the course. Stay the course. Please and thank you. Y'all hold the fort. Don't go nowhere. Don't budge. Don't move. Don't flinch. Now, I expect all the political parties are going to be speaking to this GCOM issue, because GCOM getting overbearing. GCOM getting overbearing now. It's like I feel this government looking for unrest. Right? I think they called September 1 to make it look as though they're ready for the election. And then they're doing everything for the opposition to intervene to halt this election and push it back. Because when you come with all of these mechanisms, all of this wickedness, it's only for somebody to go to court now and file some court matter that people are going to be denied their fundamental rights, and voting is one of those rights. It's a fundamental right that every Guyanese got. Now, I want you to bear in mind, we have identified so many issues in which we have seen this government, Angela Ben, they're trying to rig this election. We've identified so many ways and means. And I'm going to keep talking about them all the time until you all know them by heart. And those of you who live in the diaspora, you're all going to be able to write your senators. You're going to be able to write Hakeem Jeffries. You're going to be able to write the U.S. President, the U.S. The Secretary of State, the Finance Minister there, about these issues. About how they're rigging the system to give themselves an unfair advantage. Any legislation they brought in the National Assembly on this tenor, electoral reform, has been to their advantage. Any changes at GCOM, to their advantage. When you take the man who left unceremoniously with his server with the SOPs in it, I don't see everything already. I don't see where we're going. We land and we have arrived. Right? When you take the man who didn't qualify to be chief elections officer and you make him the chief elections officer and he's beholden to you, I see it already. I see it already. What is happening? When the chairman of GCOM only voted with the PPP, when the chairman of GCOM only voted with the PPP, they're calling the shots, they're setting the work program, they're changing the form, they're saying the prisoners can't vote. You all see that? They're shortening the days for the claims and objection. You're setting everything to favor you. You're hold on the census of 2022 that we paid $2 billion for. That you all tell us, you all give us a preliminary report since last December for Christmas. And we're still waiting. It's not a set piece. How do you call that? Here is not a set piece. Donna David, Orendon, Neil Harding. It's not a set piece, man. It's a set piece. Right? And here is what Neil Harding says, who understands the issues. Ian says only biometrics could save we. But do they want biometrics, Neon? Do they want biometrics? Neon says only biometrics can save us. They don't give me biometrics. You see them boys wanting to give us biometrics. So hold the fort. Keep the faith. Please and thank you. I said as it was coming on, I saw that critics cuss out some minister. People say critics get big now. He bigger than a minister. When you could cuss out a minister like Jagdeo, what are you telling us? What are you telling us? Folks, I am very, very optimistic. I'm very, very optimistic. If you guys are feeling a little challenge where confidence is concerned, borrow some of mine. Please and thank you. But hold the fort. Keep the faith. Don't go no place. Don't go no place. Now this week here, you'll get several surprises. We're back, number one. We're back with our podcast. That's number one. Just to bring you some quick updates. We don't think you guys can wait till 8 o'clock in the evenings. So just a quick update. What we see transpiring at GCOM. Critics cussing out a minister. You know. What else transpired during the course of the day? You all can let us know. I saw a young woman in agony, clearly needing some intervention, emotionally, mentally, threatening to set a house on fire. You all got all that happening. I see a young lady who was fingered in a fraud, some kind of a fraud issue. I saw her with an interview with Travis. And then I saw Judge Shishi. Full stop. I'm going to leave the one right there. I can hold the focus on these other issues here. Please and thank you. Folks, Angela, Sandrine, Gwyneth, Lyndon, Maxine. There's a quick update on some of our observation, and we really wanted to talk with you guys about what's happening at GCOM. Because as you guys come home, head out to work, raise these things with your colleagues. These are not light matters. When a electoral body is treating its citizens with such scant disregard, I wonder why Dwayne only coming now. Dwayne Crummy Wing is. I think one subject I mentioned. Dwayne coming laughing. I know Dwayne is not laughing at the electoral issue. The electoral issues. So what is Dwayne laughing at? Joan Paris wants to know which minister now. Folks, join us at 8. Give you all the other half. We're gonna leave it there, folks. This is meant to be a quick update. We in and out. We're gonna be back on with another update via this format, this new format. Forgive us. I don't even want to wear a jacket. I can tell you all that. This new format, we're going to be back at around 10:15 this evening, but we're going to be back for our formal program as well at 8 o'clock. At 8:15. You know, officially we reset the time to 8:15. Right? So we're going to be back for that. Thanks for joining us at this end. Dolly, and when you're cussing out minister, you're big, When you tell a ministers, get from here, you're big. See, when we started the IPAS, I know lots of you are old enough to remember when Janet showed a writ over her shoulder, sir. And how the breakdown in law and order begun there. Lincoln King, Claude Chapman said, hold the focus. You listen to Claude. Claude is a wise person. Hold the focus. Please and thank you. Hold the focus. We're going to see you guys back at 8. Right? Hold the focus till then. Yvonne Green. I see Gwyneth is here as well. Bernadette, Lester, Pretty Militia. You all hold the focus. We're going to see you guys on the next broadcast. Stay safe. That's our time. Stay safe.